Tropical Storm Jerry officially formed Tuesday, marking the Atlantic's 10th named storm of the season and continuing what meteorologists describe as an unusually active year for tropical weather. According to the National Hurricane Center, NHC, Jerry is expected to pass near or just north of the northern Leeward Islands by Thursday evening and into Friday, bringing with it the potential for strong winds, heavy rainfall, and dangerous surf conditions. Satellite images released Tuesday showed Jerry swirling steadily over the central Atlantic Ocean, its well-defined core beginning to organize as it moves northwest. The NHC has advised residents in the northern Leeward Islands to closely monitor the storm's development. Interests in the northern Leeward Islands should monitor the progress of the storm, as there is a risk of wind, surf, and rainfall impacts, the agency warned in its latest bulletin. Computer models currently show multiple possible paths for the storm, including one that brings Jerry closer to the U.S. mainland. However, forecasters cautioned that it's too early to determine whether the storm will directly affect the East Coast. It's still in the early stages, meteorologist Chris Michaels from WRAL explained. The environment ahead will determine how much Jerry strengthens and whether upper-level winds will steer it toward or away from land. The Atlantic has seen a noticeable spike in activity over the past few weeks. Major hurricanes Imelda and Humberto formed in rapid succession, each leaving its own trail of destruction across parts of the Caribbean and the Atlantic. Humberto, which gained Category 3 strength, lashed Bermuda with powerful winds and heavy rain late last month, producing dangerous rip currents that affected much of the U.S. East Coast. Imelda followed shortly after, developing into a tropical storm that battered Cuba before strengthening into a Category 2 hurricane over open waters. It caused the deaths of 2 people, downed trees, and knocked out power to thousands of homes before brushing past Bermuda. Although neither Imelda nor Humberto made direct landfall in the United States, their combined effects were felt along coastal communities. In North Carolina, several oceanfront homes collapsed into the sea due to the relentless surf stirred up by the distant storms. Interestingly, meteorologists say Imelda and Humberto were unusually close, only about 500 miles apart, leading to a rare interaction known as the Fujiwara effect. This phenomenon occurs when 2 cyclones orbit around each other and sometimes merge or repel. It's a very rare phenomenon overall in the Atlantic Basin, said AccuWeather's Alex da Silva. The 2 systems essentially started pulling on one another, and that helped divert Imelda away from the U.S. coast. Forecasters say this year's hurricane season has been marked by a curious trend, several storms forming, strengthening, and then veering away from the U.S. coastline at the last moment. According to meteorologist Chris Michaels, the reason lies in strong upper-level winds that tend to steer taller, more powerful storms eastward into the Atlantic rather than west toward land. That pattern was seen with Andrea, Chantal, Dexter, Fernand, and Aaron earlier this year, all of which stayed offshore despite their initial paths suggesting possible landfalls. Aaron, in particular, became a major hurricane in August, but remained about 200 miles off the North Carolina coast, sparing the southeast from what could have been catastrophic flooding. AccuWeather's Alex da Silva noted that this trend, while fortunate for coastal residents, doesn't mean the region is in the clear. The Atlantic Basin remains very active, and we still have several weeks left before the end of hurricane season, he said. All it takes is one storm to shift just slightly westward, and the situation can change dramatically for the U.S. East Coast. Indeed, meteorologists are keeping a close eye on Jerry's projected path. Early models suggest that it could strengthen into a Category 1 hurricane as it moves northwest, depending on wind shear and ocean temperature conditions. The National Hurricane Center emphasized that while many paths remain possible, the storm's future trajectory will likely become clearer by late Thursday or early Friday. As of Tuesday evening, Jerry was producing sustained winds of around 45 miles per hour with higher gusts, according to the NHC's 8 p.m. update. The storm structure is becoming more organized, the agency said, and further strengthening is expected over the next 24 to 48 hours. A tropical storm watch may be issued for parts of the northern Leeward Islands if the system continues its current course. This year's hurricane season has already been one of the most dynamic in recent memory. Data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, shows above-average sea surface temperatures and reduced wind shear across much of the Atlantic, two critical factors that encourage storm development. Those conditions have contributed to a rapid succession of storms, including Imelda, Humberto, and now Jerry. Despite the high storm count, the United States has so far escaped direct hurricane landfalls. The last time the U.S. made it through September without a single hurricane strike was in 2015, AccuWeather noted. However, forecasters cautioned that the season runs through November 30th, leaving plenty of time for that to change. The only named storm to make landfall in the U.S. this year has been Tropical Storm Chantal, which battered parts of the Carolinas back in July. Chantal brought days of torrential rain, severe flooding, and strong winds, resulting in an estimated $4 to $6 billion in combined damage and economic losses. Communities are still recovering, with many coastal towns reinforcing dunes and seawalls ahead of the next potential threat. The National Hurricane Center continues to urge preparedness across the Atlantic and Gulf coasts, even in areas that have avoided the worst impacts so far. Complacency is the biggest danger during quiet periods, NHC Director Michael Brennan warned. A storm like Jerry can change direction quickly, and when it does, you may have only a short window to act. Satellite imagery released Tuesday night shows Jerry spinning steadily, its eye forming more clearly as it tracks over open water. Meanwhile, residents in the Leeward Islands are bracing for possible tropical storm conditions, with local governments activating emergency response plans and issuing public advisories. The Atlantic hurricane season has proven unpredictable this year, a mix of fortunate turns and near misses. But as meteorologists often say, the ocean has a mind of its own. With more than a month left in the season, Tropical Storm Jerry serves as another reminder of nature's power and the importance of staying alert, even when landfall seems distant. For now, forecasters and residents alike will be watching the skies, waiting to see whether Jerry follows the same offshore fate as its predecessors or becomes the storm that finally breaks the United States' streak of good fortune this season. As Tropical Storm Jerry continues to swirl across the Atlantic, one thing is certain: the 2025 hurricane season is far from over. Meteorologists will keep tracking Jerry's path, and residents across the Caribbean and the East Coast are being urged to stay alert and prepared. Storms can shift directions in just hours, and history has shown how quickly calm seas can turn dangerous. If you found this update helpful, don't forget to check out our other videos covering the latest in weather news, storm tracking, and hurricane safety tips. Stay informed, stay prepared, and always keep an eye on official forecasts before making any travel or coastal plans. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our updates on Tropical Storm Jerry and future hurricanes developing this season. Turn on your notifications to stay ahead of the storm, because when it comes to weather, being informed can make all the difference. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next video.